I will go ahead and call this regular meeting of the Coralville City Council to order on July 26, 2022. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Knutson?
Here.
Gross?
Here.
Quinn? Jones?
Here.
Goodrich?
Here. All council members except Councilmember Quinn are present, as is the mayor, the city clerk, the city attorney, the assistant city administrator, and several other staff in the audience. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
By Knutson, seconded by Jones. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. All right, on to item number 4, community comments. This is a time for community members to speak to us about items that aren't on the agenda or items that are on the agenda but are not subject to a public hearing. Each speaker will have 5 minutes, and we do reserve the right to adjust both the comment time and the individual speaking time based on the number of speakers or any accommodations that a speaker might need. So is there anyone that would like to speak to us about items that aren't on the agenda or items that are on the agenda but don't have a public hearing? Okay, yep. Go ahead, state your name and if you could sign in as well.
I did, yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thanks for letting me speak. I'm Peter Christakis. I live at 845 Lincolnshire. And I had emailed, I think, Thor, and he said to do it in this forum because it's not I didn't get on the agenda list. But I live right on Lincolnshire, right before the turn where it goes to Pembrokeshire down the hill. And I'm asking that the issue of traffic cutting through from Oakdale to Dubuque be looked into a little bit further. And there's a lot of traffic for one, and I think that's more because people's GPS, people that come from West Coralville, they need to go north Liberty, get automatically routed. So any contractor, delivery person that needs to go that route gets automatically routed through there. I know the city some years back connected Oakdale to Dubuque in an effort to mitigate that traffic. But I would argue with the advent of GPS becoming common in everybody's car, in one way or another, it hasn't really helped the problem all that much, because if you'll just stand there at the corner of Oakdale and Pembrokeshire at the bottom of the hill, you'll see that there's not much traffic that needs to go north on Dubuque using, and I'm sure that wasn't a cheap agenda item to address, but it hasn't helped the problem. There might be some traffic studies that say that it has, but with GPS, like I said, you have people going up the hill. The problem, I think, is further people going down the hill, because you have people that go to West Coralville Strip, River Landing, that are coming south on Dubuque, and it's almost like a speedway. There's not that many houses, but there's a lot of young children that play right at the intersection of Lincolnshire and Pembrokeshire that all it takes is someone not paying attention or a ball to run out on the street. We all try to be the best parents we can. Sometimes that stuff happens, to not be paying attention and to just cut that turn real sharp in there. So what I'm asking for is to look into, there's not much can be done at this point other than speed humps to be put on Lincolnshire and speed humps to be put on Pembrokeshire to help keep people at the right speed, and also with the ultimate goal of potentially discouraging people from taking that as a shortcut, because it was never intended to be a main artery. There's a lot of houses there in and around the main intersections. It wasn't intended to be a main artery, and you know, the bigger problem is in 2 years you're going to finish that development in North Liberty across from Liberty High School with 1,000 units. That's slated for 1,000 units, 50 units all north of Breckenshire. So the problem's only going to get worse with people coming home from work from Iowa River Landing, et cetera. I think you get out ahead of the problem. You put the best solution you can in, which is not a speed bump, which would slow people down to where they're going to, you know, rev it in between the bumps. But if you put a speed hump to keep them at a specific speed, it's fairly cost effective. Mainly to deter people from taking that cut through and just make it more burdensome and discourage it. You could also make that a 3-way stop at the top of the hill, but people don't really stop at that stop sign. I would also argue that we're in the furthest northeast corner of Coralville, and we don't get much of a police presence just by virtue of not being closer to the center of the city and closer to the retail and more multifamily housing. So we don't have much of a hey, you know, this is going on, let's keep an eye on things to keep people honest, cutting through the neighborhood. So that's essentially the problem, and I would appreciate if you guys could, you know, come to some solution. I do have my immediate neighbor's signatures on a petition to get this, and then I have a map that I just MapQuested. If you go, if you enter in Google Maps, Funcrest to Iowa River Landing, that's how it takes you either way that you go. So
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions, but, you know, I live there, see the problem every day.
All right, thank you. We'll have
Thank you.
someone follow up, and then could we get copies of that? Just the folks that signed it, if you want to
Sure.
maybe give it to the city clerk,
Yeah,
then he
absolutely.
can make copies and make sure that everybody gets that.
So would that become
All right.
agenda item at some point, or what's the next?
Yeah, will have city staff follow up with you and go from there.
Okay, I
right.
appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else like to speak to us? Sure, yeah. Go on up and make sure you sign in and.
Hi, yes, I did sign in.
Fantastic.
And my name is Karen Cummins, and I was here about a year ago just to talk about Dovetail Pond. And I think you might have two photos in front of you. I have two that say photo 2. There's supposed to be a photo 1 and a photo 2. So if someone has two photo 1s, I'll trade you.
I got one of each.
The main reason I'm here is if you look at photo 1, you can see all that scum that's on the pond. And if you look to the right, you can see that there is some water that moves just on the other side of that island. And then photo 2 shows photo 1 is looking toward the southwest, and photo 2 is looking toward the northwest. And this was taken today, and so you see the amount of algae that's there. On a day when there's been rain, this whole area is just muddy, muddy, muddy. And I don't know the name of that development that's to the north on the west side of Dubuque Street, but they just completely clear-cut that whole area. There's not a tree left. It's just plain raw dirt. And so when it rains, all that washes down and finds its way into Dovetail Pond. And the pond had a lot of sediment in it previously, and now that's just exacerbated the whole situation. I understand that there's some remedial work that's going to happen with the developer up there, but there's all of this other dirt in the meantime that's come into Dovetail Pond, and it really could have benefited from dredging before this all happened. Obviously, it's much worse now after that happened. So just really wondering, are there any plans to go in and dredge that area? And is the developer going to be held responsible for everything that they contributed to Dovetail Pond? Or how? It's sort of like the horses left the barn, and it'd be nice to have some remedial action for everything that's happened in there. So just, I don't know how to find out what's happening there, but I'd be grateful to know.
Yep, absolutely. And again, we'll have some staff follow up with you. I will say we have been looking at this a lot lately, actually.
Okay,
So we are keeping an eye on it, and there's something on our agenda this evening as well, so.
And on a note that is not making a complaint, so to speak, would just like to say the Iowa River Landing, I think, has been a real asset to Coralville and adds a great deal to our community, and grateful for all you've done in that area.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to us? Yes, come on up.
My name is Philip Cummins, I'm with her. And all I want to say is just one thing. It's like the Coralville has got two minds that are going in the opposite directions on this issue. There's a lovely path on both the east side and the west side of that pond. And it's quite an attraction for kids that fish, also adults that fish. So it's as if Coralville wants it to be a destination. But when it begins to fill up like the way it's filling up, and you see the way it's kind of going in the opposite direction. Like, who would want to go see it when it looks like an algae pond? So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I'm sorry I'm late, and I thought it was 7.
That's all right. Come on up to the mic.
I'm almost a 20-year-old resident that lives, my property backs to Dovetail Pond or Lake. When I looked at the Plat map when I was going to build my house, it was determined to be a lake. I think somewhere along the line it was readdressed and determined to be a pond. When I moved in, I could see this beautiful blue lake all the way from Oakdale, where it had been dammed up, all the way north to where the trail goes up to Auburn East. And then I watched the Auburn Hills East development take place. There again, soil erosion. So we had then a lot of what I call, well, you'll call it wetlands pond, that became just a cattail haven. And that is growing and growing. That body of water, I am estimating, because I haven't checked with an engineer, but just from my experience, that body of water that we call Dovetail Pond has decreased by at least 2/3, or a third, to maybe a half. Now, as with the recent development that's been talked about, just within the last month, I look out on green, organic water. It is filled with organs. It is going to blossom. It's going to become no water, but a wetland within a few months. This is very distressing. I don't know how the city can expect people to appreciate this body of water at the rate it's going. So something needs to be done, and I'm looking forward to having the answers to rehabilitate that body of water and that environment. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. And make sure that you sign in at the, did you get signed in?
Yes, I did.
Great,
Thank you.
fabulous. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak to us this evening? All right. We will move on to item number 5, a portion of Lot 3, Auditor's Plat number 20. Address is 802 First Avenue. And we have several steps with this agenda item, and we will start with a report from our Community Development Director, Dave Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. This request would allow for a 1,600 square foot drive-through coffee shop. The proposed coffee shop will be on approximately half an acre and is going to replace the current BP gas station that is at this location. This restaurant will have indoor seating, as well as a few outdoor tables, and the building exterior consists primarily of stone, fiber cement, engineered wood, glass, metal panel, and trim. Staff has reviewed the project, and the project, as well as the rezoning, can be considered consistent with the Coralville Community Plan, and the proposed site plan complies with the site development standards that are set forth in City Code. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this at their July 6th meeting. By a vote of 7-0, the Commission recommended to approve rezoning the property from the C2 Arterial Commercial District to the CPUD2 Commercial Planned Unit Development 2 District, as well as the PUDB site plan. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you very much. All right, I will now open the public hearing on this item. Is there anyone that would like to speak to us on this?
Good evening, John Marner with MMS Consultants, representing the developer. I think Dave hit all the key points. We worked with staff, a couple notes. We worked with staff on maintaining the access location at the northeast corner of the site, and then finding a solution that would be agreeable to the city and the adjacent landowner at the southeast portion of the site. We chose, as part of that process, to wrap the drive-through exit back around to the northeast to avoid any conflict of traffic entering in that southeast corner with traffic exiting. We also, as part of that process, part of the PUD process, enhanced the landscaping to the south to try to provide a nice visual buffer for that adjacent property owner. And I am available for any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any written comments?
No written.
Okay, all right, I will now close the public hearing, and we will consider the ordinance.
Ordinance number 2022-1008, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 2020-1009, as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as a portion of Lot 3, Auditor's parcel number 20, from C2 Arterial Commercial District to CPUD2 Commercial Planned Unit Development 2 District, introduced for adoption, first consideration by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Any questions or discussion on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Gross.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich. Knutson.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its first consideration, all ayes with when absent. Item number 6, Lot 7, Folsom's Subdivision, public hearing. And there are several steps with this item as well. This is the first consideration of an ordinance that would rezone this area to a commercial planned unit development 1 district. And this will allow for a master development plan for Gather, Iowa. Gather, Iowa is a 12-acre redevelopment at the Southeast Commercial District sub-area. And we'll start this off with another report from our Community Development Director, Dave Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Southeast Commercial District sub-area is a component of the Coralville Community Plan. Sub-area plans are typically challenged sites and highly visible areas identified for potential future growth, and they're viewed as opportunities for important economic drivers, both locally as well as regionally in the area. So the Southeast Commercial District sub-area serves as the premier gateway into Coralville from the University of Iowa. The area is generally commercial, but does have some residential and industrial uses currently. The community plan describes the area as auto-dependent, with dated strip malls, poor site design, and an overabundance of curb cuts, as well as surface parking. And redevelopment of this area will require expansive coordinated planning and design in order to strengthen those connections to the University of Iowa, as well as the region. This area will serve as one of Coralville's premier gateways, and integral to that effort are some key concepts outlined in the Coralville Community Plan. Those are to strengthen connections to the university, signage and branding, pedestrian and bicycle connectivity, access management, network enhancements, as well as aesthetic improvements. This is a mixed-use development. This is going to include retail, restaurant uses, as well as multifamily uses. And this development will provide 905 parking stalls. 568 of those stalls are going to be provided by a parking structure, which occupies the northwest corner of the plan. More detailed breakdown of the uses and locations are provided in the site plan that City Council has. And project amenities are also shown in the described landscape concept vision that's been prepared by BKV Group. City staff has reviewed the proposed PUD-A master site development plan and finds the development includes and improves upon all key concepts outlined in the Southeast Commercial District sub-area in the Coralville Community Plan, and the preliminary plat also conforms with the requirements for preparation filing outlined in City Code. Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this at their July 6th meeting, and by a vote of 7-0, the Commission recommended to approve rezoning the property from C2 Arterial Commercial District and I2 Light Industrial District to the CPUD1 Commercial Plan Unit Development 2 District, the PUDA site plan, as well as the preliminary plat. Here with us today is Graham Rail, President and CEO of Rail Development Group, Billy Avia, Director of Development for Rail Development Group, Mackie Mosley, Architect for BKV Group, Colin Kuntz, Landscape Architect and Urban Designer with BKV Group, as well as Nick Hatz, our only local, I believe, on the development team here today with Shive Hattery. Everybody else is here from Texas to introduce themselves and answer any questions you may have.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I will now open the public hearing on this item, and if anyone would like to come and speak to us, you're welcome to step up to the mic.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. My name is Graham Rail, Rail Development Corporation. We're based in Dallas, Texas, and we also have offices in California. That was a pretty comprehensive overview, but we really do feel like this site is a special site. We've taken time to try and understand really what makes it special, what makes the community, the neighborhood special, how it interacts with the bike trail and with its visibility. What we really aim to do is create really a destination, a neighborhood within a neighborhood. We tried to design something that is eclectic, meaning different building heights, building types, mix of retail, restaurant. So we didn't want just one big monolithic project on this site. We felt that it wanted to be something that you could visit and stay a while. We tried to accomplish just the right amount of retail without being too heavy. We don't like empty retail, but we think we've accomplished that by creating some nice smaller retail spaces out on the street, restaurant pads, and then as you come in towards the development, our main leasing, lobby, amenities, co-working spaces, that type of thing will be on the interior. So creating this pedestrian promenade there that's going to be activated, and really, I guess the weather's 75 degrees every day here, so we're going to have a very special environment out there, and we've got our team here that can walk you through any of those details. But again, we appreciate being here, and welcome to answer any questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to speak to us on this? Yeah.
Evening, everyone. Nick Hatz with Shive Hattery, and I'm the civil engineer and representative of Shive Hattery for this project. And I've been working on this project with Graham and BKV since a year and a half now. And having been a Coralville resident myself, I remember cutting through this area on the way to high school. But I'm really excited to be a part of this project. It's an excellent redevelopment that definitely can feel proud of. Happy to answer any questions as it relates to engineering items, but it's going to be a vast betterment with the various reconstruction of the public infrastructure and utilities, and city staff has been great to work with, as always, with coordination of hydraulic modeling and traffic review. So, but yeah, thanks for the detailed overview, Dave. Happy to answer any engineering questions that may arise.
Thank you.
I would just note this property is entirely in the 100-year floodplain. This is the wholesale redevelopment is really what has been needed for this, rather than parcel by parcel redevelopment. These buildings will be located a foot above the base flood elevation, so that's a really positive thing for the community and for this area as well. I would also add, there are no building elevations at this time. That is something that will be reviewed by the commission as well as city council as part of a PUDB follow-up site plan application for this project. What we're really doing now is establishing the master development plan. Densities, parking, we're handling most of the utility design at this point, grading, a lot of the civil engineering, but the building design piece will come later.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, there's also been extensive utilities and existing environmental issues too that have always been hurdles for redeveloping this area, and yeah, just continue to press on those. So.
Thank you.
Comment on 1 foot above what floodplain? Was that the 2008 flood? It's above that?
Well, the base flood elevation is actually established by FEMA, and it's our local city codes that requires all development, the lowest livable floor elevation, to be 1 foot above the base flood elevation. Some communities, it just has to be at the base flood elevation. It's not necessarily defined by any individual flood event, though.
But
So
it
how
would
does-
have been
how is it
lower
related
than
to that
the
flood event, though?
2008 level. It would be lower than the 2008
Right.
level, but
Oh, correct.
we've certainly
By-
protected above that.
By 2 feet, by,
Boy, I don't know the answer to that, but it would be closer to the 100-year than to the 2008, which was closer to a 500-year.
500 year, yeah.
And to participate in the flood insurance program, we are required to make sure that any building in the floodplain is 1 foot above the base elevation. So that's a requirement for our residents to be able to access the flood insurance program.
And we're working through with city engineering and their consultants, the hydraulic modeling, and which incorporates the, flood proofing and levee, developments that have occurred. So definitely trying to protect our investment in the infrastructure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Anybody else like to
Yeah,
speak to this?
I believe this is a wonderful project. We've looked forward to this for a long time, all the improvements that you'll be making. Want to thank you so much for choosing Coralville. Thank you for coming from Texas, where it's hot, I hear. Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak?
Hi, Colin Kuntz, Director of Urban Planning and Landscape Architecture with BKV Group. I'll just briefly introduce myself and high level speak about the landscape design and how it's organized. It really is rooted in the neighborhood and is responsive to the context. The 3 trails and access points to the city and the surrounding areas and the university really drove the design and helped put this massive landscape piece, retail plazas up front and as the front door of the project. And I think it's really special. It is activated in a number of ways, but one of our strategies is to create a series of outdoor rooms. And this is to help people feel comfortable when you're in a large group or in a small group. And I think you can see by the design, they're organized by a series of outdoor rooms that really invite people to stay and to linger and invite people to be a part of the community even if you don't live here. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hello. I'm Makia Mosley, an architect from BKV Group. I'm very honored to work on this project. Like Colin was saying, the design team's focus for this project is to create a space, safe, comfortable space, as well as inviting and revitalizing space for the students as well as for the people in the city. So you can see a lot of outdoor space as well as inside space that people can use for that purpose. And I just wanted to tell you that I'm very excited to work on this project and develop it and see it to the finish line. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Do we have any written comments?
No.
Okay. All right. I will now close the public hearing, and we will consider the ordinance.
Ordinance number 2022-1009, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 2020-1009, as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as part of Lot 7, Folsom Subdivision, from C2 Arterial Commercial District and I2 Light Industrial District to CPUD 1 Commercial Planned Unit Development 1 District, introduced for adoption, first consideration by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. I will start off the discussion portion of this item just with a quick clarifying question. So is this is the section that is around Walgreens, correct?
Correct, but this
Okay.
excludes Walgreens,
Yes.
the bank, as well as, I believe there's a couple other properties. But yes, generally speaking, it includes that area.
So this does not include the Iowa Lodge area?
No, nor does it include the salvage yard directly west as well.
Yep. I know we've had a lot of conversations about this area, and I agree that this is a very exciting project. I do, part of the conversation that we've had over the years when we've looked at this specific area is centered around the affordability of the units. There are several residential units that are already back there. And, some concerns that we had voiced in the past are, what happens if we completely redevelop this area and displace the individuals that are currently living there? So that's one question I have. I know we may not be at that point yet, but I do have some concerns about how we're communicating with those residents that live back there. And I would say, generally speaking, I'm guessing that's probably a lower income, lower socioeconomic area. I would have some concerns about displacing residents. I'm guessing that again, we're probably not quite that far, but I'm guessing that the units that we're talking about are not very affordable.
Yeah, I couldn't speak to exact demographics, income levels, things of that nature. I can tell you there's currently only 34 rental permits down there at this time. And one of the major property holders down there holds the majority of those rental permits. So those would be, the landlord, I would anticipate, would be communicating with residents about what the future of the property may be. 34 residents, I believe, could easily be accommodated through affordable opportunities elsewhere in the community. If there were more residents than that, I may have a concern. However, 34 is relatively small number, not insignificant by any means, but nonetheless, it is something that I believe can be absorbed elsewhere in the community.
But just to follow up what the mayor's talking about, where the majority of those 34 are, that structure will be removed at some point.
Correct.
Right. So I guess I'm curious about the timeline, so that just as far as when those folks that they're given enough notice to find something else.
Difficult for me to say. I'm not aware of what the current lease is between the current property owner and those tenants. Whether it requires 30 days or 3 months or 6 months notice, I'm just not sure. I couldn't answer that for you right now.
But those units are in this first phase of I don't know if we're phasing this out just yet, but we're not doing the whole area.
Correct.
But those 34 are in the area that we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay. How many more beyond that are outside of that area, do we know?
Zero.
All of them are in here.
Yeah, that would definitely be a point of concern, just on my end, is just, I hear you that 34 is not a large number. But I think that's something that we have to, think about as if we move forward, just making sure that there is some kind of, if we can have some kind of plan for communicating, and that, and I know that is totally up to the landlord, but that is a concern that I have. And just in general, I know that right now, it's difficult. We've had a lot of conversations about the cost of construction, the cost of housing, and it is an expensive time to build right now. But, affordability in this area in particular continues to be a concern. And I know that this is just one section. So even within, if we don't address it in this one section, as we look at the other pieces of this area, I hope we can keep that at the forefront, especially since we've got the Iowa Lodge there as well. Just something I think to think about.
We did meet with Graham this morning and did look further at opportunities for low-income housing tax credits. I know that we've talked about that in the past, and we didn't really know if that was an option in this area, but it's something that we're going to continue to look at and see if we can somehow work through some of the issues that we've seen there. So we'll continue to study that.
That's great, thank you. Any other questions or comments on this item?
Yeah, I'll just say, we had a discussion a couple weeks ago about affordable housing in that area, and realized that being in the floodplain makes a lot of these grants and things, you know, makes it impossible to be competitive for those, but anything that can be done for those folks, to promote, you know, maybe one structure or something like that, I would certainly support that. I am a believer, I'd say, in supply and demand, and we're eliminating 34, but we're probably adding hundreds. I don't know what the long-term plan is of units. They're going to be new, they're going to be expensive, but that will help keep the cost overall lower in the area. So for that reason, I tend to support things like this, because the overall supply, I don't know if we have a number on estimated units, apartments or condos or what have you that will go into this area, but it's going to exceed 34 by a substantial amount. Is that fair to say? Yeah. 300. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Gross. Aye. Jones.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its first consideration, all ayes with Wynn absent.
I would just like to take the opportunity to thank Graham and his team. We all do know about all the challenges in that area, and they are significant, and others have tried, and Graham and his team have gotten farther than others, and we really do appreciate the fact that they've seen the potential and the opportunity here, and we look forward to continue working with them. They've been very good to work with, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is certainly an accomplishment, just given the, what is it, 3 decades, at least? 2 decades?
It's a while.
Yeah, oh, it's been a while.
The whole time I've been here, and that's 22 years.
Yeah. All right, on to item number E. This would be a resolution approving the preliminary plat of Lot 7 in this area. We have the resolution.
Resolution approving the preliminary plat for part of Lot 7, Folsom Subdivision, Coralville, Iowa, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Any other questions or comments or discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes with Wynn absent. Item number 7 is the first consideration of zoning code amendments. These amendments reflect changes to better facilitate and direct positive development and redevelopment in Coralville. We have several changes that we're looking at this evening, including the removal of the RO estate residential, I'm sorry, that's a 0, R0 estate residential district. Changes that would comply with the state code, which prohibits cities from regulating no impact home-based businesses. Other changes that would comply with state code, which prohibits cities from regulating consumer fireworks sales in commercial and industrial districts. These changes would also add more detailed and comprehensive design guidelines for new commercial and industrial buildings and additions, changes to address the parking of RVs and boats, and allowing accessory structures in rear and side yards, and amendments to allow front yard setback adjustments. So a lot packed into these items, these zoning code changes. And we have Dave here again to give us a more detailed overview.
Sure, we're proposing to remove the R0 residential district. We do not currently have this zoning classification in Coralville, nor is this a classification we will ever have. This is really meant for large estate development that may or may not be on sewer and water. Anybody who did want to develop like this could also do so under R1 if they so chose to, but that really isn't an issue. The second item is, as you noted, state code is now prohibiting cities from limiting no-impact home-based businesses. So there's a number of criteria which qualify something as a no-impact home-based business, but notable, some of those include in-home child care, as well as basically any sort of activity that doesn't generate excessive traffic on the street or being visible from adjacent properties. So this does handcuff us a little bit in how we can do that. Nonetheless, we're making these changes to comply with the state code. Mary also noted, effective April of this year, cities in Iowa are also no longer able to regulate fireworks sales in their communities prior to today, or prior to adoption of that bill. We restricted fireworks sales to industrial districts. Now we can only restrict them in residential districts. We have to allow them in commercial and industrial zoning districts. I think you probably saw the impact of that this summer with the fireworks tents throughout the community and in parking lots. We are proposing some more detailed design guidelines. I've been here 2 years, and in that time, designers, both engineers as well as architects, are looking for more direction in terms of what the city is looking for new construction and additions, anything that falls under site plan review. That would also include any residential buildings, 12 or more units, and this accomplishes that. So we're just being more specific in terms of percentages of masonry, glass, how a building orients to the street. We also address on larger buildings like industrial buildings, breaking up that facade into smaller components, large stretches, maybe change the wall plane a little bit. Some of this information we borrowed from the West Land Use Area Design Guidelines that we already have in place. Some of this has been borrowed from other communities that I researched in this process. City has also never formally addressed RVs or boats in our community. I would say over the last 2 years, there's been a number of them. We researched what Iowa City, North Liberty, West Des Moines, other communities in Iowa do. These recreational vehicles are allowed on residential properties, but typically they're restricted to side yards and rear yards. We took that further step by requiring that they be on paved surfaces. Item 6 is accessory structures to be allowed in side yards. This is kind of a big change, formally, I should say. You'll drive throughout the community and you'll notice sheds and detached garages and other accessory buildings in side yards, but technically our ordinance has only allowed them in rear yards. Again, accessory structures in side yards are fairly standard in most communities, and this opens up opportunities for residents in terms of added storage or whatever may be needed. We are asking that those accessory structures be set back minimum 10 feet from the front building facade, so the home is still the primary aesthetic from the street. We're also changing the setbacks from 3 feet on side yards and rear yards to 6 feet. So it'll be 6 feet on the side, 6 feet on the rear. Reason being for that, 3 feet really isn't even enough to set up a ladder to do proper maintenance on a side of a building. 6 feet is a more than generous setback for accessory structures. And we're also proposing to allow amendments, administrative amendments for front yard setbacks, especially in our older neighborhoods. So if somebody wanted to build a new home on a lot in downtown Coralville, what we can do is we can actually just take the average of the two homes to the east and west or to next to it, and we can administratively set that as setback without that homeowner having to go through a formal variance process or review process. So that's really just a tool that I want to use to help facilitate infill development and investment in our older neighborhoods where these lots do not, nor did they ever in the 1920s, conform with what we have currently. But we still want to keep promoting investment and reinvestment in these neighborhoods, and it's just one tool. So, and honestly, these changes are just what Kevin and I have kind of been going back and forth on over the last couple years. As time goes on, we will continue to be evaluating this, and perhaps in another 2 years, we may have some additional recommendations for you to consider.
Fantastic. And these were approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission?
They were. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 7-0 to recommend approval of the proposed changes.
Great. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for that overview. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would wish to speak to us on these items? Are there any written comments?
No written.
All right. I will now close the public hearing, and we will consider the ordinance.
Ordinance number 2022-1010, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Coralville, 2011, as previously amended, making changes to Chapter 165 of the Coralville zoning code, introduced for adoption, first consideration by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. All right, discussion. I did have a couple of questions. The boats and the RV changes. If someone has a boat in their driveway, and they have an adequate space in their driveway for the boat or the RV, can they keep it in their main driveway, or do they need to create a pad on the side of their house for that?
They can keep it in their driveway for
Okay.
72 hours for the purposes of basic maintenance, cleaning, loading and unloading, preparing for trips, coming home from trips. Anything more than that would be considered storage, and in that case, it would have to be in a side yard or a rear yard.
Okay. And if there is not adequate side yard, then they would have to come up with alternate storage?
Correct, and quite honestly, there are some lots in our community where this will not be an option, and these are smaller lots with smaller side yard setbacks, and those are probably instances where we wouldn't want to be promoting this type of storage anyhow, so.
I don't mean to interrupt, Mayor, but while we're on this topic, so as I read this, if something is stored in the rear yard on a pad, on concrete or asphalt, it has to be connected to the driveway?
Correct.
So you'd have to have okay.
Correct.
Okay, which would be very difficult in a lot of situations, I assume.
And in some situations, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
but it's also important that we have that connection, so we're not creating ruts, deterioration of lawns, things of that nature.
And you don't get an extra driveway cut. You just have to go into the cut and then go around,
Right,
so.
exactly.
And we've had some RVs in the past and boats on lots where you can't even see around, they're so large, they take up the whole lot, and then you can't see around can't even see around corners. So we've had some issues with that on lots that probably shouldn't have something that large.
Yes, and I remember we had this discussion a couple years ago when we looked at some other alternatives as things like screening with trees or that, and I feel like the driveway is probably, or the wider driveway is probably a fair compromise to that. And the only other thing that I wanted to say is the fireworks situation. You know, it is so controversial. It is such a hot topic. We hear about it every 4th of July, but I just want everybody to know that we have tried multiple times to regulate where the tents go up, where these things are sold, and in every instance, the legislature has preempted our authority on that. And the rezoning to the industrial areas was something that we did as recently as last year.
Correct, and I think the calls for service numbers support that helped significantly in terms of the sale of fireworks, but not having them set off in the community, because communities, we can no longer prevent the sale of them in commercial industrial districts, but we can still prevent them from actually lighting them off in the city.
Right.
Which can be confusing for somebody who may not be familiar with the rules.
Yeah. And the goal with moving them into the more industrial areas was to hopefully make the tents less visible.
Right, and I think our biggest reason when we move them to the industrial zoning district is based on experience. These operations inherently lend themselves more towards an industrial district. Those are the only districts where we allow the outdoor storage of equipment, storage containers, all of those things that we see as now being accessory to these fireworks tents, because they are not only selling fireworks at that specific location, but they're also storing inventory. And oftentimes that inventory is also being distributed to regional Walmarts and other retailers. So it just lent itself at the time much better to an industrial district than it did a commercial district.
It's something we hear. I know I heard a lot about it. We've been hearing a lot about it, but we're really quite limited in what we can do on that, and they keep taking away any authority that we do have or any regulatory power that we do have at the state level. So, are there any other questions or comments? Yeah.
I just want to thank Dave and Kevin, I'm sure others, for working on this. This is a lot of work, and I think it will make it easier for our citizens to make some of these changes, and appreciate all your efforts on that.
Thank you.
Dave, I have one question. On the commercial design standards, the subsection that's being amended had specific reference to roofs. And I don't see, how do you address roofs in this amendment? Is it?
I'm sorry.
The existing ordinance, section 165.52, has a subsection that mentions the roof and the pitch the roof has to be.
Oh.
And I don't see that in this amendment.
Yeah, no, I intentionally omitted it since a lot of our new commercial designs have flat roofs, where oftentimes a lot of the mechanical equipment is stored. And quite honestly, in commercial development, that is where we want the mechanical equipment going.
Okay.
Instead of on the ground, we prefer it be on a roof. So oftentimes those roofs are flat, and oftentimes there's a slight parapet that comes up to hide that equipment.
Okay. And then just point of clarification, I think I know the answer, but like in the town center district, that has a different design review, a different design.
Yeah, great
requirement.
point. Thanks for bringing that up. Actually, yes, we have 2 overlay districts, or 3 actually, Oakdale Boulevard, Town Center District, as well as the West Land Use Area. Those supersede this.
Okay.
So those are the deferred documents. These are for all other projects that require a site plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its first consideration, all ayes, with Wynn absent. Item number 8, Lot 7, Coral Ridge Commerce Park, Phase 7. This is a rezoning for this area to a Commercial Planned Unit Development 2 district. And this will allow for an 8,974 square foot restaurant and retail building and a 4,770 square foot bakery restaurant. Could I have the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 2022-1006, an ordinance amending the Coralville zoning ordinance, the same being ordinance number 2020-1009, as previously amended, rezoning certain property located within the corporate limits of the city of Coralville, Johnson County, Iowa, and generally known as Lot 7, Coral Ridge Commerce Park, Phase 7, from C2 Arterial Commercial District to CPUD2 Commercial Planned Unit Development 2 District, introduced for adoption, third and final consideration by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Any questions or discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Gross.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its third and final consideration, all ayes, with Wynn absent. Item B, resolution approving the site plan for Lot 7 of this same project. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving the PUDB site plan for Lot 7, Coral Ridge Commerce Park, Phase 7, Coralville, Iowa, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Questions or discussion on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution passes all ayes with Nguyen absent. Item number 9, this is the third and final reading of our pedestrian safety ordinance. This ordinance repeals certain sections of the Coralville Code of Ordinances and deletes and replaces section 67.3 as requested by the Iowa Civil Liberties Union. These changes would prohibit pedestrians from standing in medians less than 10 feet wide in areas with a speed limit of at least 30 miles per hour, and also in businesses and school districts. Pedestrians will also have to use crosswalks to cross streets with a 30 mile per hour or more speed limit. Could we have the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 2022-1007, an ordinance amending the Coralville Code of Ordinances 2011 as previously amended regarding pedestrian safety, introduced for adoption, third and final consideration by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Any final questions or comments? Roll call.
Councilmember Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Ordinance passes its third and final consideration, all ayes with Nguyen absent. Item number 10, 9th Street pavement repair. On this project, we'll place an asphalt overlay on 9th Street between 20th Avenue and 21st Avenue. And we will start with a bid report on this project.
Thank you, Mayor. On July 19th, we received bids for this project, and we received only one bid. That bid was from LL Pelling Company of North Liberty, and their bid was $195,953.55. Our engineer's estimate was roughly $57,000 lower at $138,920. Obviously, one of the big factors is the price of oil, the increase in price of oil over the past year or so, and just in general, the overall construction cost increases that we've all seen through the metro area and beyond. So with that said, we did look at comparable projects. We talked to Street Superintendent Eric Fisher, and we believe, even though it's above our estimate, that it's appropriate to award the contract so we can get this particular street taken care of.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution accepting bids and awarding the contract for 9th Street pavement repair 2020, introduced for adoption. Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Gross. Any questions or discussion?
Why only one bid, do you think?
There aren't many asphalt contractors that do work of this size in our area. So typically we would see more asphalt contractors if it was a smaller parking lot type project. So.
Oh, this is a big project for that, not a small project.
Right, and this one's a little bit complicated too because there is some staging involved. If you look at the memo, we have the map showing the location, and if you think about the number of apartment units or condo units that are on 21st Avenue Place, single access. And so it's not as clean of a project as we would all want, or including the contractor. So those things also kind of add a little bit to the overall cost too. And I'll just mention we haven't met with Pelling yet on a schedule, but the goal was to have this completed yet this fall. So we'll keep you updated.
How long do you think the project will take from start to finish?
I believe we were looking at 3 to 4 weeks. There's a lot of milling of the existing surface involved, and then the overlays go quick. But again, because of the staging, it's not as simple as we would prefer. So.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Gross.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes with when absent. Item C, a resolution approving the contract and bond documents for this project.
Resolution approving the contract and bond documents for 9th Street paving repair project, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Questions or discussion on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Goodrich?
Aye.
Knutson?
Aye.
Gross?
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes with when absent. Item number 11, sanitary cleaning and CCTV agreement. This is a 5-year agreement to provide regular cleaning and televising to determine the overall condition of the sanitary sewer system, as well as to provide general preventative maintenance. And we will start this item with a bid report.
Thank you. 7 vendors were contacted, 3 vendors responded, and the low bid was provided by CIT Sewer Solutions. And it's for, say, a 5-year agreement, and the goal is to complete 10% of the system cleaning annually, so we get the system cleaned totally over a 10-year period. And it's to identify areas where we have problems that we don't recognize right now, like tree roots, grease, or just sewer pipes that are not in the best condition.
Fantastic.
Everybody has any questions about anything?
I assume you're going with the lowest bid?
Correct.
Yeah, there was a big range there, wasn't there?
Yes, there was.
Great. All right, thank you very much. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution accepting bids and approving a sewer cleaning and CCTV agreement, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Any other questions or discussion on this? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Goodrich?
Aye.
Knutson?
Aye.
Gross?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes with when absent. Item number 12, tobacco violations. This item is for selling cigarettes, tobacco, nicotine, or vape products to an underage person. The first offense for this is a $300 civil penalty, and a business can use an affirmative defense once every 4 years to avoid the civil penalty, and first offense if their employee completes the Iowa Pledge Retailer Training Program. Could we have this resolution, please?
Resolution accepting the affirmative defense for tobacco violation at Hy-Vee Gas Number 1 on January 27, 2022. Introduced for adoption by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Kevin, do you want to give a little bit more
Sure.
context for this
Sure.
agenda item?
Sure. Every year, the police department, I believe with money from the state, is tasked with going into each of the permitted businesses in Coralville and having a minor attempt to purchase cigarettes from the permit holders. This year, unfortunately, two of the licensed establishments sold to the minor. And so what happens is the employee is cited and fined, and both the employees in these cases pled guilty to the offense. There's not much of a defense if you sell cigarettes to a minor. So, and then what happens is the Attorney General's office will either tell the city to prosecute, or the Attorney General's office will prosecute the offenses. So, and if we do the prosecution, we get to keep the civil penalties. So we usually have gone every year and done these. A couple years ago, the legislature changed the rules. There never used to be an affirmative defense, but I'm guessing the lobbyists for people who sell cigarettes got this put in there because one would think that you would train your employees before you started selling cigarettes in this program. But this is the first use of the first affirmative defense for Hy-Vee Gas Number 1, which is the one on 2nd Street out here. So So they get to use this once every 4 years. So if there's an additional offense in that 4-year period, they will have to take the penalty for that.
What does proof look like, Kevin?
So proof of basically, their general counsel sent me the certification that the employee who I have the ticket for was completed the training. So.
And why does this take a resolution from?
Because these are required to be approved by the council and then sent to the AG's office, so they have records that the council did go ahead and forward these on. So by doing a resolution, you have a piece of paper instead of a motion, you'd be like, sending the minutes in. So that way we, so after these are approved and signed, we send to the AG's office and they check off that we did go ahead and prosecute these.
And if we vote no?
Well, I don't think they'll be very happy and yeah, I guess I wouldn't suggest that, but I guess I'm not the one voting.
I have no idea what would happen.
Most
of the things I vote yes and no, I
Well,
understand what would happen.
if they would probably come down and ask what, prosecute, or in the future, they'll prosecute for us, and then, yeah.
It could go to that, get to that point. Got it.
Are there any other questions on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Gross?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Goodrich?
Aye.
Knutson?
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Wynn absent. Item B, this is a resolution accepting the payment of the civil penalty. Could I have that resolution, please?
Resolution accepting payment of $300 civil penalty and acknowledgement settlement agreement from SHAG, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Knutson. Questions on this item?
This is one of the kiosks in the mall that did this, so.
There's a kiosk in the
Well,
mall
there's
that
some of the
sells-
places that sell they're like mini convenience stores.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
sure.
so what's a denominator, just out of curiosity? We've had two, everybody gets, I don't know what to call it, but.
Yeah, everybody gets a
approached.
compliance check by the police department. They find a minor that you can't trick him and have a minor that has a beard or anything like that. They have to, that's been in court before, so you find a minor they go in, the police officers give them money to buy, and then if they do sell, they will come back out and come in and issue the ticket.
And they do it for everybody, though?
Everybody.
So the denominator here is 100 places sell cigarettes in town, or?
What do you?
29.
Okay, he's got his
29.
report tonight, so he knows, so.
Okay.
Yep.
So 2 of 29.
Yes, I mean, roughly, I mean.
I would have guessed higher than that on average.
No, word gets around that the checks are happening too, but that doesn't stop them from selling before. We had somebody call one year and warned them and they still sold, so. It's not really difficult, because most of the stores now you have to scan the back of the license, and usually, although we've had people override the cash register to sell, but that's another story.
This is, I just find this very interesting. Where do we get the actors?
I think,
All right, I'm just like, how do you even?
Yeah, I know 1,500.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I like your answer there, Chief.
Obviously not the same people and doing it all the time, so.
Given the vaping we have in schools, they're good at
Well,
getting it,
yeah,
so.
I know. Yeah, I'm sure, because it's an issue at the junior highs too. My kids see it every day, so very interesting. All right. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes, with Wynn absent. Item number 13 is the REAP grant application. This is for a $100,000 grant with $20,000, 15% local match in cash and in-kind services to help with a timber stand improvement project for the Dovetail Recreation Area and Colony Open Space. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving an application to the Iowa Department of Natural Resources for grant funding via the Resource Enhancement and Protection, REAP program, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Knutson, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Questions or discussion on this item?
I would just like to note that the note and I believe your memo are incorrect. It's a 15% match. It doesn't take really higher math to know that $15,000 on $100,000 is 15%. It's not 20%. The 15,000 is the correct number.
So Sherry asked me to just briefly, what we're going to do is you're going to go into the Dovetail Pond area and the colony open space and remove invasive tree species, remove those. That's what this grant is going to be used for.
Where's the colony open
So
space?
if we purchased approximately 60 acres. It's generally west of the Iowa Medical Classification Center. Behind there is an open space that the university owns, and then there's another, and south of, is that Fox Ridge, just
Okay,
Fox
yeah.
Ridge and North Liberty, that Fox Valley, sorry, that's Solon, that is Fox Ridge.
Okay. And,
Which we used REAP money to buy the, REAP money and SRF money to buy the colony property too.
But
And-
this will not impact, we had obviously community comments tonight about this lake, but this will not help with that, with their concerns, I take it at all, right?
Not what they were talking about. This is, I mean, this is something that has to be done to get rid of some of the invasive species, but there's a whole discussion about what the purpose of that pond, what lake, whatever that was when it was built way back in the late 90s.
This is an area west, quite a bit west of that, of what was talked about
Well,
on
it's also
comments.
dovetail, it's
It's also
dovetail and
dovetail.
colony, so
Yep.
it's both.
Okay,
So,
okay.
and
It's what?
is it so the dovetail area, there's the pond that the residents were talking about this evening, and then there's the area across with the volleyball.
And there's also a wooded area. and
Yes.
So this is for the wooded area
That's what
to
I-
remove
okay.
invasive species and replant with native species.
So this is
Yes.
across the street.
Okay.
Yes.
Oakdale.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
So it's not going to directly affect
No.
the questions they had this evening,
Right.
which I know Sherry has been talking to them quite a bit about and that we've done a study on as well.
Yeah.
And we actually visited that area at our last meeting and had a very lengthy conversation about a lot of the things that they were mentioning, including the potential recreational uses of that. So that's a good point of clarification, though, that this is for the green space across the street.
For the
South.
timbered area, yeah.
It'd be south, that's what I was saying. But the other area is far out west.
Far
The
out
colony
So there's
area is
two
to the
areas.
west
Yep.
of
Thank you.
965.
Yeah.
There's no paved road to get there right now.
Okay.
You have to get on a four-wheeler
Will
eventually.
All right. Okay, great questions. Could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Gross. Jones.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes with Wynn absent. Item number 14, Johnson County Direct Cash Assistance Program. This is for the city transfer of ARPA funds to support the Johnson County Direct Assistance Program with the condition that the funds go to Coralville residents. Could we have the resolution, please?
Resolution approving an agreement with Johnson County for the use of city funds in the Direct Cash Assistance Program, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Gross, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich. Questions, comments, or any other thoughts on this item?
I was just curious, since it probably happened before my time in the seat, but this was something that was discussed, I assume, with the distribution of all the ARPA funds?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Just for a brief context, a lot of the conversation that was happening about the excluded workers
Mhm.
fund and the direct cash assistance that was requested, this is our contribution
Yeah.
to that effort.
Thanks.
Basically, we
It-
give them the money and they administer the program.
Yes.
Where do we, in the resolution though, where do we have that it goes to Coralville residents?
I think the agreement says that, I believe the agreement says that.
It does?
Yep. And I think Iowa City had the same
Yes.
Are saying on their grant to that program also.
Which is where some of the confusion happened, where some of their funds were sent back.
Yes.
I think a substantial chunk.
I think the difference was that theirs specified that it went to people after the lottery was finished, people who lived in Iowa City who did not proceed in the lottery. Their money was for those people who weren't picked in the lottery, whereas ours, we did not specify that you couldn't be picked in the lottery, that it was only for people who weren't picked in the lottery who lived in Coralville. Ours was, it could be used for people who were picked in the lottery and lived in Coralville. And I think that's, as I understand it, that's the difference. And that's why our funds were all used. And Iowa City's, there's been that 319 that there's been that challenge with.
Do we know how many Coralvillians were picked in the lottery?
I do not. I think it's been published, but I don't have it off the top of my head.
So why do we have to do this?
What?
The auditors have said,
Yeah.
and the state auditor and our auditor, that you have to have agreements now with any of this type of funding that you give to another agency.
So we did like
Oh, we didn't have an agreement the first time?
Well, for like, we would just, take a example, like you budgeted money to like DVIP or something, but we'd normally just budget the money and give it to them, and they'd use it. Now we have to have an agreement and they have to report back, so that's, the state auditor requires that. So any agreement where we're donating money, pretty much is gonna, anytime we're donating money to a nonprofit, we're gonna have to have an agreement.
So when we voted on this money earlier, that was just in concept, and we hadn't.
They hadn't got, so this agreement
So is this
basically says,
we're gonna do the same thing for all of the ARPA funding then, as it
we've
comes
done,
back?
when we did most of it already, those agreements were approved back when we,
But this one wasn't.
this one was not, because I think we didn't decide on the amount right away. We had the amounts. And this one also says that basically Iowa City administers the program on our behalf, and that, if for some reason their program is deemed not compliant with the ARPA funds, that they're responsible for the.
Johnson County.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
not
know,
us.
Johnson County,
Johnson County.
Right.
not Iowa
Yep.
City.
Yep.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And this has, taken a tremendous amount of work on behalf of the county and the other municipalities. And it really is remarkable that, I know there's been a lot of criticism and critique, but it's pretty remarkable that our local entities collaborated on this to make sure that we were at least including some people that had been left out of those previous rounds of relief. So I appreciate all the work that went into that. Are there any other questions about this? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Gross.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes with Wynn absent. Item number 15, Utility Resilience Project. This grant is for $180,000 in federal assistance, with the state providing a $20,000 match to investigate and scope the relocation of power and communication lines to front yards and underground from 5th Street north to the railroad tracks between 6th Avenue and 10th Avenue. The project detail is necessary to apply for the funding to complete the Utility Resilience Project. Could I have the resolution, please?
Resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to execute and sign that certain Iowa Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management Subaward Agreement number HMGP DR 44830015, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Jones, seconded by.
Second?
Seconded by Gross. Questions or thoughts on this item?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I thank Ellen for her efforts in this area. It'd be fantastic to get
Yeah.
utilities below ground in these areas.
Absolutely.
Strongly support that.
Any other thoughts? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes with Wynn absent. Item number 16, Community Development Block Grant Program. This is a resolution authorizing, the original grant for the Home Buyer Assistant Program provided about $25,000 per home buyer in down payment or closing cost assistance to purchase a home in Coralville for 5 buyers. Due to market conditions, it's been difficult to find eligible buyers to locate affordable homes to purchase. So the city is requesting a contract amendment to extend the end date from August 1st to October 1st in order to provide adequate time to assist the final applicant. Could I have the resolution, please?
Resolution authorizing a request to amend that certain community development block grant, the program contract number 20-HSB-003, introduced for adoption by Councilmember Goodrich, seconded by.
Second.
Seconded by Jones. Ellen, do you have anything to add on this one?
I would just like to say, we, this entire program has been implemented during the pandemic, so it's been a little tricky, to say the least. ECOG's done a good job working with us, and, we've gotten the word out, I think. This will allow us to help 3 homeowners. We asked the state if we could continue to extend so that we could we do have additional applicants, but they just have been struggling to find a home that meets their needs and that they qualify for, and all of the pieces fit together. So the state is not allowing that kind of extension at this time, but they will allow us to extend to do this 3rd closing that we have scheduled, so.
Great.
But we just appreciate everybody's cooperation on this.
Fantastic. Any other questions or comments on this item? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Goodrich.
Aye.
Knutson.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Resolution is approved, all ayes with Wynn absent. Item number 17, boards appointments. So these are the appointments to the terms on 2 community boards, the Community Policing Advisory Board and the Library Board of Trustees. And we have some midterm vacancies on these boards due to a resignation of a board member on the Policing Advisory Board. And then, of course, the Library Board of Trustees, we have a vacancy because Councilmember Jones joined us a few weeks ago. And so I am recommending for the Community Policing Advisory Board to appoint Royce Peterson, address 820 12th Avenue, for the term that expires in 2025, and for the Library Board of Trustees, Lisa Melliker, at address 907 10th Avenue, for the remainder of the term that ends in 2022. And we just had a lot of really great candidates apply. I made my selections based on the professional experiences and expertise that these individuals would bring to their respective boards. I would encourage everyone, whenever we have openings, to apply, but I think, that these 2 individuals will serve well in these roles. So I would entertain a motion to accept the recommendations for the following appointments.
So moved.
Moved, was that you, Mitch?
Yeah, it sounded very loud.
I know, I was like, I couldn't tell if that was you or Mike.
Yes.
I'm like, moved
Wake
by.
up.
Oh, no, you don't want to? You taking it back?
No, I was telling her to wake up. That's what I was trying to do. Yes,
Yeah.
I stick with my motion
You
to
stick
approve.
with the motion, okay. Moved by Gross, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Goodrich, and we'll just do a voice vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Mayor, do you know how many, I'm just curious how many
Yes.
applicants we had?
So we had 3 for each position.
Okay.
And did we not get the packets?
We
Their
did.
applicant?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't get them either.
Yeah. Maybe you can send them to us.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
or
if
we
you could
can
be
forward
resend, yeah,
them.
just, yeah, okay, thanks, Lori.
Yep, yep,
I think these are two really good candidates for those
Yes.
positions.
Yep, no, outstanding.
very,
Picks,
very
yep.
excited.
Can
Very-
I say thank you, Royce, for being here, and congratulations.
Well, and for the record, I have to be honest, Lisa texted me and said earlier, did she need to come? And I said no. So, yeah, my bad.
We
Usually
love
we don't
to
have the
people come to our
appointees come,
meetings.
so.
No. Well, we're glad to have
Yes.
you.
Yeah, thank
Way,
you.
way to show her up, Royce, nice.
Okay, well, the motion was approved, all ayes, and congratulations to both of our new members. Looking forward to it, and thank you for your willingness to serve. We truly appreciate it. Okay, item number 18, I would consider a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
So moved.
All of it? All of it? The
Yes,
entire-
yeah, items A through V. I'm new at this.
All right, I know. No,
Items
it's all
A through
good.
V.
Moved by Jones, seconded by Knutson. Could I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Goodrich.
Aye.
The consent calendar is approved, all ayes. Item number 19, Deputy City Administrator's report.
Yes, Mayor, I would just like City Engineer Scott Larson to give us an update. Metronet and IMON have been working diligently on the fiber to the home projects, and one of them has reached a milestone here in the last week, so he's going to report on that for us.
Yeah, thanks, Ellen. That is correct. One of them did reach a milestone, and that is Metronet. So within the past week, they have what we call lit up their first customers in Coralville. So they are now providing fiber to the home. I don't have a count of exactly how many yet, but we would expect that to probably increase now on a daily basis. Metronet, or excuse me, IMON will be close behind, and I'll have an update on them in the near future. We're actually meeting with the IMON group this Friday morning. We have those meetings about every month or two, depending on schedules, just to kind of get an overview of where they're at and address any concerns that we're hearing from residents, and then also give us their outlook on the rest of this year, and then also what they intend to accomplish next year. So we meet with IMON on Friday, and then we meet with a similar group from Metronet next Wednesday. So a week from now, we'll have a complete picture on where both companies stand. Generally, Metronet has been working north of 80, both east and west of 12th Avenue, and they recently started going north of Holiday Road, east of 12th. Both companies have been working south of Interstate 80, kind of along 12th Avenue, with Metronet working to the east and IMON working west out 10th Street. So things are going well. Occasional phone calls from residents, and a lot of it, the most recent phone calls tend to focus on the where the work is occurring. And so usually once we explain, what a utility easement is and generally where it's located on the property, the residents understand that those companies have a right, but we always reinforce that the utility companies, yes, they have the right to disturb those utility easements, but they have to put it back to pre-existing or better condition. So making progress overall.
And I've heard feedback from a couple of the residents who have the Metronet, and they are very, very happy with it.
Great.
Very happy with it. I did get an email from a constituent before the meeting about some questions for IMON. So what's the best way for them to get those questions addressed?
Right. Most of the time, we think it's most effective if the resident does contact, whether it's Metronet or IMON, to contact those companies directly.
Okay.
From day one, both of them have really pushed that they have kind of this internal complaint tracking system. It generates a ticket that's viewed at the corporate level, but also at the local level by the construction managers that are out there overseeing the projects. So we usually direct folks to our website, and we're maintaining that fiber to the home news article. So whenever you go to our main homepage, in the middle of the news spotlight section, you'll always see that fiber to the home. If you click on that, you scroll through a little bit and you'll find the phone numbers and links to contact both companies. But we are always available, particularly the engineering department. That's where calls get routed, and we will remain available as needed to assist.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Scott? We appreciate all of the work. It's very exciting.
I'd just like to encourage everybody to enjoy this beautiful July weather. Get out and enjoy the parks and the trails and the aquatic center. It's been just gorgeous.
Yes, it has. All right. Thank you very much. Mayor's report. I have just a couple of things. The Johnson County Fair is happening right now. I've been out a couple days for my day job. I'm working at the fair. It's always a lot of fun. Always enjoy seeing folks. I know that today was Kids Day, and we had Officer Nichols out there, and we had some folks from the Coralville Fire Department as well. Tomorrow is the last day, and it has been very nice. Usually, it's when I work at the fair, it's miserable and hot, but the last couple days have been very pleasant. So I would encourage everyone to get out for the last day of the fair tomorrow. And then next Tuesday is National Night Out. We have 11 neighborhood parties so far. One question I had, can folks still register a party, or is that?
They sure can. I think it's just a matter of whether we can get to everything, but
Sure.
yeah, certainly can try.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's exciting to see that list growing, and that's just a amazing way to get out and get to know your neighbors. And we have again police officers, members of our fire department that come and visit. We will be trying to get to all of the parties, and we'll be dividing and conquering, but it's an event that we all really, really enjoy. And then finally, I just wanted to let everybody know, mark your calendars for the 5th Street Social on August 13th, another really fun community event. And that is all I have this evening. City Attorney's report, anything?
I have nothing additional.
Nothing.
Okay. Committee and council members report. We'll start down at this end with Councilmember Knutson.
Yeah, I'll just say I took advantage of the city's soil restoration program. It was very easy online application. Got a quote from Quality Care here in town and submitted that. And the city will pay about half the cost, maybe just under that, so highly subsidized. And important, so your yard can absorb more water. Friends in St. Louis just went through 8 to 10 inches of rain down there this week, maybe this morning even. And this is the purpose of these programs, to help do that. And we're not, those types of events are certainly could happen here. So encourage everybody to take advantage of that. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Gross.
I don't have much at all. Just a reminder that at our next meeting, I'll be at a work conference out of state, so I will not be here. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
All right.
Thanks.
Councilmember Jones.
Just a couple quick things. I attended my first Parks and Rec Commission meeting. I appreciate that appointment. And it's really a group of quality folks on that commission. We toured the aquatic center, and it is, I'm not much of a swimmer, but it's quite an impressive facility. And even though that it's got some age on it now and starting to reach the point where there'll be some maintenance issues, it's still a very nice facility. So it was nice to take a tour over there when it was closed in the evening. And then just a real quick update on the new Coralville Food Pantry building. That building now, all the rough-in, all the mechanical rough-in has been done that can be done. Drywall's up and been taped and mudded, and I think, I did not stop today on my way down here, but it looked like they were ready to spray. So things are moving along, and it appears that it's will be on schedule to be open sometime around the 1st of November, maybe mid-November. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, and that is fantastic news. That is just really, really great news. I'm really impressed with the progress on that facility. Councilmember Goodrich.
At Coralville Public Library, Friends of the Library are having their sale August 5th and 6th, starting at 10 o'clock until 5:30 on Friday and Saturday, 10 to 3. So free will offering, and the whole downstairs of the library will be full of books and such. So encourage everyone to go.
Fantastic.
And to donate, I assume you can donate?
You
books?
can always donate anytime.
It's interesting, they went to this free will offering a while
Yeah.
back, and they do much better that way than when they were charging for books, so.
You mean donate books too?
Yeah,
Is that what
yeah.
you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
got them shelves
donation
they
of
can
books
clear up.
can also be at any time. You can bring them to the library. Yeah,
Be a good time to do it. Yep.
yeah. Good.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you all very much. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Goodrich, seconded by Knutson. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, meeting is adjourned.